Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 3 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. Happy Monday. What if you're watching this on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Or if Monday isn't even happy for you because you got to be at work. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining me. Today we're going to take an advanced look at the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 3. This is the latest omnibus. This isn't a new printing. They actually gave us a reprint of volumes 1 and 2, and here we have a new book. I love it. Big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on August 27th or 28th, depending on where you get your books. And this cover here is supplied by the legendary Gil Kane. And this is the direct market cover. On the left-hand side is the standard edition cover, and that one is also supplied by Gil Kane. So both covers by the legendary Gil Kane. Only one of them is available everywhere, and that's the standard edition. The one on the right-hand side is the direct market that is only available at places like your local comic book store, cheapgraphicnovels.com, WaltzComicShop.com, BDCosmos.com, ReadComics.com, ComicsBugle.com, OrganicPriceBooks.com, DianeBreedCollectors.com, Tales of Wonder, DCBS, In Stock Trades, and of course, your local comic book shop. So here we have the latest omnibus in Iron Man. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and put it on the shelf because I'm going to show you something. So this immediately fits right after, of course, Volume 2. But the next volume we have is the Michelinie and John Romita Jr. one, meaning that there's only 7, I can't believe there's only 7 Iron Man Omnis, including this new one right here, Volume 3. So I hope with the sales of this volume, Volume 3, Marvel will take note and probably release some more. I know out of the 600 books that you all got to vote for, I know at least one Iron Man Omnibus made it to the top 60. So whether it's modern or whether it's a classic, I just want to see more and more of these stories collected. So here is all of the covers that are collected in this particular book. I forgot to talk about the spine, Invincible Iron Man, and this image right here, Conway and Mike Friedrich, Don Heck, and George Tuska, Volume 3. ISBN, $125. Let's get the dust jacket right here to look at Marvel's Man of Iron enters comic books Age of Bronze, and a little bio on the creators over here like Gerry Conway, Mike Friedrich, and Don Heck, George Tuska, Archie Goodwin, and Alan Brodsky. And of course the design of the book, Invincible Iron Man, Conway, and Friedrich, and Heck, Tuska, that image in Volume 3, and then that particular image of Iron Man. Okay, let's get this book open, talk about the stories found in here, show off the artwork, and then we'll talk about the build of the book. And let's open this up. You have your end sheets here, and your title page, the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus Volume 3, and then what's collected in there, and the top billing. And there's the fight against Dr. Spectrum, the behind the scenes here of the folks that put the book together. And the credits, so you have Gerry Conway, Mike Friedrich, and Archie Goodwin, Mimi Gold doing one issue, but it's a really interesting issue. Alan Brodsky, Robert Kanigher, Roy Thomas, just to name a few of the writers, and then Don Heck, George Tuska, Gene Colan, Herb Trimpe, some of the pencilers, Johnny Craig, Chick Stone, Mike Esposito, and Vince Colletta doing some of the inking, as well as John Romita. And then over here, the lettering, Gene Izzo, Art Simek, Sam Rosen, and some of the colorists. When they started actually crediting the colorists, this is really interesting, is around issue 57 of Iron Man. So that's really cool, because over here it is uncredited. And then your editors, of course, at the time. and your table of contents, letting you know where you're going to find each of the issues and when the issue came out and what the title, the name of the issue is. And your introduction here from Gerry Conway, who was really difficult on himself, honestly. Talking about this particular era of Iron Man, and I'll explain why here in a second. But first, this collects Iron Man 26 through 67 and the crossover with Daredevil 73. This book has 968 pages and retails for $125. So we kick it off with Archie Goodwin kind of wrapping up his series, and we have the return of original Marvel or Iron Man artist Don Heck. So what Gerry Conway was referring to is that Pepper's been kidnapped, the controller or the collector's kidnapped Happy and Pepper, but what he ends up wanting is the sword. What he's talking about is that there's so many creators just in the first third of this book, because remember, that is an original Marvel Masterworks introduction. It seems like they were just growing at such a speed that they couldn't keep up, so they would just get different writers to come in, fill-in writers, fill-in artists, and he thinks that the story suffered for it. And I know that this era does have a lot of, well, there's a lot of my viewers that I know speak either fondly of this era or not so fondly of this era. But regardless, they want it all collected. And I get that. I'm an X-Men guy. We got to go with the ups and the downs. To me, reading these stories, I actually reread them when they came out in Epic Collection. And I don't know, some of them were hits, some of them were interesting because of the compelling stories that they're trying to tell. Like this Firebrand story right here is about this racial tension that's going on. So they're using this character to kind of give you a social commentary on what is going on outside the world of Marvel, the world outside of your window. And I actually love the design of Firebrand. You don't get to find out his identity. As a matter of fact, you find out his identity a little bit later. Now, the letter pages, which are intact, which I'm sure you saw, so I was flipping through here, actually goes back and talks about that, too. The character Firebrand. Some people are like, hey, this is really cool. You guys are touching on justice issues. And some people are like, this is ridiculous. This is comics. So, interesting to see that. Archie Goodwin does end up leaving the book after this controller storyline. You still have Jasper playing a part of Iron Man's sidekick, but we do have the return of the controller for a couple of issues. And then eventually, this is the one that's actually written by Mimi Gold, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Don Heck supplying the artwork. And Iron Man ends up going to this particular island here to try to help these people against maybe an alien invasion, but it could be some evil dictator. This is where this issue takes us to Japan, where this giant monster lizard is attacking this island on the seaside of Japan. This is Zoga, the Unthinkable. Or no, yeah, it is the Unthinkable. There's actually a lot of social commentaries throughout these particular issues. We have that particular story, the story with the campus, and then we have the mechanoid story. So, I don't know if they were kind of trying out new things, or if they were supposed to be, trying to follow a storyline led by the editor. Regardless, they make for really compelling stories. I don't know if you've read them or not. And eventually, this does lead into the coming of the Spy Master with his own team. And yes, a lot of heroes get kidnapped, Nick Fury, and it also involves Old Hornhead in this particular story. With the Key of the Zodiac gets involved with this crossover right here. And there's some really stunning artwork in this particular book right here. There is some Gene Colan, of course. Madame Mask plays a role through here, Zodiac, and of course, the Spy Master. Well, I always liked his design too. This is the Ramrod storyline that kind of leads into the next arc, which is if I'm not mistaken, the Super Adaptoid. By now, Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts have kind of taken a step back because we're about to be introduced to some newer characters that will play a bigger part as a supporting cast of Iron Man's friends. And one of them is Marianne Rogers is her name, and she'll play an important part. You have the character of Edward March playing a bigger part in this, and he appeared in the previous Omnibus. But he'll play a bigger part in this when, like I mentioned, Happy Hogan and Pepper try to go and live happily ever after. This is an introduction. Actually, this one has two introductions, if I'm not mistaken. One by Gerry, Conway, again, being really hard on himself, but also making room for Mike Friedrich's introduction. And this is really cool because he's talking about being on the beach and reading a book by Barack Obama and talking about when these stories were coming out. Barack Obama was collecting comics, so he was hoping that maybe he read his Iron Man. And then the next introduction I found really, really sweet. I love introductions. And you can read these at any time, by the way, because none of these really spoil anything in Iron Man, in these particular volumes of Iron Man. And this is the one that's drawn by Herb Trimpe. Gerry Conway still writing the story. This is, I think, the only issue that is written by Herb Trimpe. I wanted to point this out because I've seen this before in Epic Collections, and people have asked me what this is. What they were experimenting with at the time, where instead of giving people one house or ads, like a big splash page of an ad, they would try to divide the comic up by giving ads down at the bottom. So the original comic would have ads down here. Now, this isn't a facsimile edition, so they're not reprinting it that way. One of the things that Conway was doing was kind of going back to the idea of Iron Man, or Tony Stark rather, needing the suit to stay alive. Because there was a time when the suit wasn't really necessary because Iron Man had been healed. So what happens when, this is Marianne Rogers right here, who will become a love interest, and she introduces a whole new, like, supernatural horror element to the book, which is so different than what came before and what came after. But what I was trying to say is that Conway wanted to go back to the idea of Tony needing the suit, like dependent on it, because he thinks that it made him a better person and a better character. So there's supernatural elements like this, like traveling to another world. I mean, of course, we saw the opening one where Tony Stark had to go and get a sword. What is it, the Sun Sword? But this is like Mika's, the Soul Father storyline here, where he kidnaps Marianne. And again, like supernatural elements that you weren't really used to seeing in the pages of Iron Man. There's almost like a love triangle, very similar to Happy and Pepper and Tony, even though that comes back later on. Well, those are some choices between the Guardian and Iron Man and Marion. Now, who's underneath the Guardian mask? Well, that's a newer character. The Phantom makes a return, but is it really the Phantom? I do love the fact that there's a couple of appearances through here that it's the return of this particular character, and then this particular character turns out to be, no, it's not. Love that issue. This is the cover here to the standard edition. The internal artwork here is done by Barry Windsor Smith, though. And yes, there has been a death in the supporting cast. And this is a retelling of Iron Man's origin, but it's just Barry Windsor Smith's beautiful artwork through here. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Of course, he's not alone because he has an inker, and that is Jim Mooney on inks. Love it. It's clean, crisp, easy to follow. Not that there's anything wrong with Don Heck, nor George Tuska. I've actually grown to really like George Tuska as Iron Man. We have the return of Firebrand. This is the story where you find out who he is. The Super Adaptoid makes a return through these pages. And Marianne keeps having these nightmares, these visions that something evil, this executioner, is coming for Iron Man. And it is finally revealed who is behind these visions and who this cyborg Sinister really is. And of course, who's behind the cyborg Sinister. Now, as we go through these pages here, we are about to see something really unique again. So they were trying different things for the character of Iron Man. I don't know how great the sales were. I can't speak to that. But it seems like they were in a trial period with the different writers, with that supernatural horror type of stories. Because we're about to enter the era of the cosmic side of Marvel. And it's so unique for the stories to be introduced in the pages of Iron Man. This is an introduction by Mike Friedrich again, who wrote some of the stories in here, talking about how he's good friends with Jim Starlin, how they lived together, how uh, they lived in a house full of just different creators. But he's talking about how he just got out of the debut of Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is the first appearance of Thanos, which you're going to see through here, and of course the first appearance of Drax. And he talks about the love triangle that is about to happen. But we do kick it off with a Bill Everett issue right here. Or at least I call it a Bill Everett issue because if you read the behind the scenes, he talks about living with Bill Everett. Bill Everett was in his 50s at the time. And all these things I didn't know about, like fighting alcoholism and going to AA and trying to get his reputation back as an artist because nobody wanted to hire him anymore because he was late. And that introduction just really hit me in different ways because it opened my eyes to, these wonderful creators that I really don't know much about their personal lives outside of some of the novels that I've read, and of course introductions and talking to people, and that's why I love doing interviews with creators. All right, issue 55. I'm sure most people that don't even read comics know what this is, and by most people that don't read comics, probably people that are like, oh, I know that Thanos first appeared in Iron Man because my buddy has it in a case with CGC case, right? Like, it's worth a lot of money. Not sure if it is or not. Still, I don't know. But this is the first appearance of not just Thanos, the Blood Brothers, and Drax. And who is here? Jim Starlin coming in to do the plot and the pencils and the character conceptions. That's really cool that they were giving him credit for that, for somebody that young. Mike, of course, supplying the script. Mike Esposito doing the inks. And this is the first appearance of Drax. It's similar to his story that you'll see later on. Some things have been retconned. Thanos himself has been a little bit tweaked, modernized in years. But this is the first appearance. And Jim Starlin actually sticks around for a little bit to do, or just this one issue, with Steve Gerber on or writing duties here. And this issue really works. It's a little bit of a breather in between the Cosmic arc there, which is not even that long, and this next storyline, which teams up the Mandarin with another foe from Iron Man's past, and that is the Unicorn. Both of them teaming up to cause all kinds of havoc. Firebrand making another return. That is such an awesome page. Now, of course, we have to have drama when it comes to George Tuska again. When it comes to comics, but it felt like we've already had done this previously, and it's maybe because I was reading these back to back, where Pepper Potts and Happy were in a happy relationship, and then she comes back and works for him because, unfortunately, something happens to Marianne, and Tony feels guilty. But when she comes back, it's like they open up this possibility of a relationship, even though Happy and Pepper are married, and I don't know whose decision that was. But then again, it's comics, so you need drama. So yes, there is that love triangle between both characters. There was... Did I miss it? I must have skipped it. The Dr. Spectrum fight? No, because the Masked Marauder comes first. So borrowing a villain from Daredevil's this two-parter with the Masked Marauder fighting Iron Man. And then eventually we do get the return of Whiplash through here. And again, the relationship between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts just keeps getting stronger. And then we have the fight here against Dr. Spectrum. And there's even a Dr. Spectrum, so everything is collected here. Like a Dr. Spectrum origin story. There was another backup, too, that had, like, Ant-Man in there. So everything is intact. Everything is collected in this particular omnibus. So none of the backup stories are missing. Letter pages, everything is completely intact throughout these pages. So new supporting cast, even though they do, end up being replaced again by Happy and Pepper. But they're still back there, Jasper and Marianne and the Guardian for a bit. This is the fight against Thor. And, this is the return of the Freak. However, the Freak is a little bit different this time around. However, the Freak is a little bit different this time around, and that's all I will say about that. Let's look at the extras, because there is the letter page. So here we have a cover to Iron Man annual number 1, which was just reprinting Tales of Suspense 71 and then 79 through 80. And then annual number 2, and that also reprinted Tales of Suspense 81 through 82 and 91, just the Iron Man stories. Invincible Iron Man 33 original cover, 34 original cover, original art by George Tuska and Frank Giacoia. Barry Windsor Smith's beautiful pictures there. George Tuska, Vince Coletta, and Bill Everett. Man, to have that original page. Original art. And then that image of old Shellhead. Okay, now let's look at the binding. 968 pages. It is sewn binding, printed at the iMac printer. Now, as far as the paper stock, it is thicker than the previous volumes that they released over the years. It is very reminiscent of Volume 2 and the reprint of Volume 1. So there is minimal bleed through happening. The way that it lays over, there's really not too many splash pages through the book, or spread pages rather. During this time, how they were handling, there's lots of splash pages, how they were handling spread pages, it was almost like they were part of a panel to begin with. So you're not really missing any art, and I'll show you. Beautiful, absolutely stunning page. And I think it's over here, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. So it's something like this. See, like this is framed, so it's like a panel by itself, and so is this. And that's the way they were doing some. And I mean, there were some spread pages, but not too many. Most of them look like this. But that is it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you have volumes 1 and 2, if you plan on picking this one up, if this is your preferred way of picking up Iron Man in omnibus format, or do you stick to the Masterworks or the Epic collections? I would love to know all those answers down below, or even the Mighty Marvel Masterworks, which there are none. So maybe that's why I'm asking the question. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get one. If you have any questions, though, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.